This is part 4 of our Riflescopes 101 tutorial. In this video, we're going to show you how to adjust the ocular or diopter adjustment of your Riflescope. We're also going to show you how to adjust the parallax. If you ever wondered what those knobs were for, this video is for you. The test rifle for the purposes of this video is going to be the Steyr SSG 08A1 in 7.62mm. Understanding of these two concepts is going to drastically improve your performance with your precision rifle. In this tutorial, we're going to be talking about adjusting the ocular and the parallax on a Riflescope. Not all Riflescopes are going to be equipped with an ocular adjustment, and not all Riflescopes are going to be equipped with a parallax adjustment. However, if you do have either of these adjustments, it's imperative to understand what needs to be done to get them set correctly. It is very common for people to misdiagnose problems due to a lack of proper adjustment in one of these two areas. I've seen countless shooters blame a scope of being damaged, not put together correctly, a barrel being bad, the ammunition not being right, the reload needing to be adjusted, or any numerous excuses when in fact a simple adjustment of the optics to get them operating properly solved the problem. If you want to get the precision performance you're looking for out of your rifle, it's important to pay attention to both of these things. We'll start off with the diopter adjustment. Most long-range Riflescopes are going to be equipped with the diopter adjustment. You're going to find it in the very, very rear of the ocular or the eyeball housing of the scope. This adjustment simply focuses your reticle to your eyeball. This is an adjustment that really only needs to be made one time per shooter, assuming that shooter isn't changing prescription eyewear or putting on a set of glasses in between shooting sessions. Once this is set to your eye, if you keep everything the same, it should be good until your eye changes into a new prescription. If you have multiple shooters, it's important for all shooters to understand where their diopter adjustment needs to be. You can make special markings on the rear of the diopter adjustment that indicate for each shooter where they're going to need to adjust to get a good crisp view of the reticle. Before you zero your Riflescope, and when you set up the scope on your rifle for the first time, this is a great place to go ahead and ensure that your diopter is set. You can even do this before you mount the Riflescope to the rifle. The process is relatively simple. You're going to want to focus in your eyeball on an object at infinity range. So the horizon or the sky is a good place to focus in on. Make sure you're either wearing your glasses or not, as you would if you were going to be operating the rifle while you're shooting it. If you wear glasses while shooting the rifle, make this adjustment while wearing glasses. If you don't, then make the adjustment without wearing them. Simply look at an object at infinity range, let your eyes settle in on a focus of that object, and quickly lift up the optic in between your eyeball and the object you're looking at. And if the reticle is not immediately in focus, you need to tune the diopter adjustment until it comes into crisp view. The first few times you look through the scope, you might make a gross adjustment or a very large adjustment to get it pretty close. Once you are very close, in order to fine-tune that, you have to realize that your eyeball automatically and unconsciously is going to be trying to get focus of the primary object it perceives in your field of view. So the longer you look through that scope tube, your eyeball will search for that reticle, and once it fixes on it, your eyeball will focus to the reticle, irregardless of how the diopter is set. So it's important to make sure you lift up the scope quickly as your eyeball is focused at infinity. And if that reticle takes a second or two to get into focus, that is your eyeball doing the work for you. You want to set the diopter to where it's crisp immediately. Once you get into making your fine adjustments, you might lift the scope up and bring it down and adjust your eyeballs back to infinity on the horizon. Lift up the scope again, come back down, make minor adjustments until you can verify and confirm that yes, this is the most crisp I can get this reticle to be. It's immediately in focus when I get behind that Riflescope. My eyeball is not doing the work for the optic. And once your diopter is set, you're going to have the advantage of now being able to eliminate that part of the equation from the next thing we're going to be talking about, which is the parallax adjustment. Once you determine what your adjustment is for the diopter, I like to either make a marking with a silver Sharpie, or if your scope is tan in color, you can make a marking with a different color, whatever you can see. Or you can even fix the ocular into place using a strip of 100-mile-an-hour tape or whatever you need to do to make sure that adjustment stays where you put it. Ocular parallax or scope parallax is basically an inconsistency in the view that you have as you look down the Riflescope from various positions. Being that the light enters in the lenses and is focused down in a cone shape, the placement of your eye within that cone of light will cause the target in the optic to appear in a different spot. This is one of the reasons why it's important to maintain proper sight alignment while looking down the rifle scope. If you're looking through the exact center of the rifle scope in a consistent way every time, it is going to give you similar results to achieving good sight alignment with open sights. One way to minimize problems with the misalignment is to set a parallax adjustment. The objective here is to eliminate parallax, and as you see the markings on the optic, there are various numbers on most parallax adjustments that indicate distances from somewhere in between 10 to 25 to 50 yards out to infinity. These are the assumed settings that you need to take in order to eliminate as much parallax as possible in that optic at that distance. When you encounter parallax in a rifle scope, what you're going to see is that as you move and shift your eye position behind the scope ever so slightly, with the rifle being very, very well fixed and motionless, the crosshairs and the target are going to shift around as your eye moves behind the target. In order to minimize the shifting of the reticle and the target, you eliminate the parallax as much as possible. It is very rare that the optics manufacturers get the parallax numbers exactly on. This is something that you can very easily achieve through doing a parallax check, which is highly recommended for those precise shots. If you have to make a hasty shot, you can get used to where your markings are on the parallax adjustment ring or knob, and you can make a hasty adjustment dependent on your time on target situation requirements. However, if you have enough time to make a parallax adjustment for a high precision shot, this is going to dramatically increase your performance by minimizing parallax errors. With all the different things we adjust for in long range shooting especially, we do not want the reticle to inaccurately reflect where our rifle is actually pointing. In order to set parallax, you're going to need an extremely steady shooting position, akin to a bench rest position. If you have a target rifle that you can set onto sandbags or deploy from a bipod that has absolutely no play or wiggle in it, you can get fixed onto a target at whatever range it is. Once you are assured the rifle is dead solid, you can shift your head position around the back of the ocular ever so slightly and watch the crosshairs move across the target as you wobble your head while turning the parallax knob to tweak it until that movement of the reticle across the target is minimized. You might not be able to totally eliminate the movement of the reticle on the target, but once it's minimized, you can go get back on the rifle, recenter your eye exactly behind the optic, make sure you got perfect sight alignment, and follow through with a good shot. This is an adjustment that you're going to have to do every time you change your distance. So if you're engaging targets at multiple ranges, you're going to have to set the parallax for each target at each different range. This is going to be worked into your standard operating procedure if you're using the rifle in field conditions. The second you get on target, the first thing you're going to do is make sure your parallax is set as close as you can within the time constraints to that distance for that target before you follow through with making adjustments and carrying out the shot. Failure to adjust your parallax is going to cause varying degrees of performance issues with your precision capabilities. Most people will mischaracterize that lack of parallax adjustment as an error somewhere in the rifle, the barrel, the ammunition, etc. By making this adjustment, you're going to drastically improve your performance. There are a lot of observed phenomena that happen at different distances in which people have developed hypotheses to explain these phenomena. A lot of these can be explained by the parallax and mechanical adjustments on the rifle scope and how the rifle scopes operate at various distances. Once you concur that your diopter adjustment is indeed set properly and you understand how to make a parallax adjustment at each distance, you should be ready to go out there and establish a good solid gross zero of your rifle. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to establish a basic gross zero. And in the final video of this series, we will talk about how to fine-tune a true statistical zero. That video will be on Patreon. We invite you to come over there where we are allowed to talk more freely about these various topics, and we can streamline and filter down questions to better assist you as you try to make and fine-tune these adjustments. Hey! Burglars. Hey! It's either a cat or a burglar. Or a cat burglar. Wouldn't that be something?